Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school.
Welcome, everyone, to the Miles and Crawford Variety Hour.
Woo! Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Yeah. That's your noise for the week, really? That's all we get? It's been a whole week.
Wah, wah, wah. Wait, we gotta do like a Halloween, like a boom, boom, boom.
We have a Scarycast. We're going to talk about women in power.
The worst.
We're going to post it all over the men's rights activist forums. That's awful. That's terrible.
It's fantastic.
But you know, as always, we're here to bring you our newest thoughts, rants, raves, and just general weirdness and random shit. Because literally, we try to stay on track, and it's just, that's okay. For two people with ADD, I think we do really great. No, I don't know if we have ADD, but we got something going on.
Today, Crawford is on cold medication, and
so much.
Miles
I will be copied and sniffing.
So
I just got up from a nap too, and wait for this cold medicine to kick in. So I will be sneezing and coughing my way through this mother. But that's what that mute button is for. So I'll try to be respectful of people's ears, but. You know, I might cough in your ear, everybody. I'm sorry.
It's October in Ohio. Like, suck it. At some point, by next week, I'm going to be like, hey, Crawford, how you doing?
Got that same cold I had 3 weeks ago. We just get the same cold all winter. Like every 2 months. You get over it, you're good for 2 weeks, and then, boop, you get fucked to get on it. Nope.
You should go to the doctor for that. Like, I have insurance and I still can't afford to go to the doctor. Yeah. So, fuck off. Vitamin
$20 copay to fucking gotta pay for antibiotics.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you haven't hit your deductible, like myself, who has not gone to the doctor the entire year. So,
boy.
Well, I'm not gonna hit shit. And,
right.
Fuck off. Health insurance.
You start Googling homeopathic. Like, how can I fix this shit? How do you fix a broken arm? I need to fix it. Look, this is a bad rotator cuff. I can do surgery.
I'm always trying to convince my friends. I'm like, who's the engineer that can just, like, cut off my arm? Like, we'll just scar it up. We'll create some bionic parts for my body and call it a good day. Like, it doesn't need to be a $70,000 surgery. I can get it done in like 5.
You know what? If there's a will, there's a way, or that's what I hear. So, thank goodness. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so the last 2 episodes we've dedicated to women's history. We've kind of jumped around a little bit and just talked about current stuff. And I think we started off, talking about suffragettes. Oh, God. Fucking cough syrup. I know I said that right last time because I didn't get any feedback that it wasn't.
You're talking about suffrage.
Suffrage, but they called them suffragettes. Or it ends in Gettes.
Jets.
It's like suffragettes. That sounds better, doesn't it? Really stupid women. Anyways, we touched a little bit on women's rights. We dabbled in a little bit of everything. I don't think there's a major topic we actually have not touched on last season. So this season we're going to dedicate, or really try to break down some misconceptions and barriers. First of all, my vagina. No. I just want to clear something up about my bush. No, that's stupid. Right.
It's so true, though. Like, when we're talking about misconceptions and barriers, like, we're talking about, like, our own community, or whether it be, like, race issues or drug issues, or, you know, your sense of freedom of self, or whatever it is. I think that a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions. I mean, what was the latest stat? Like 40% of Americans believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. Like,
I don't even.
I can't. I don't understand. This is the misconception.
This is the voting public.
Like, we're just trying to sit there and say, like, y'all got your own experience. Feedback is always welcome, even though y'all never give it to us, dickheads. And
never.
But we know this is not about reflecting just you, but about, like, us and the misconceptions that we can have, or, like, trying to explain trying to explain to my husband the other night about transgender women who become men and then get, pregnant later, and the conception of that, like, they would shoot sperm into the fake penis that's now, I'm like, do you know
wow.
They don't, not all of them get hysterectomies. They would have to, like, they would just inject the women, like, it would be like a whole C-section thing. So, well, how do they have babies? Well, my second, came out through a C-section, so a transgender, like, it's that...
They just don't push it out through the vagina, buddy. That's how it goes. Didn't you see 9 Months? Do you remember that movie? It was so stupid. I personally loved Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito together. What a great duo.
They were a great power couple. Like, they really were.
Twins was a hilarious little movie. The 90s was a goofy-ass time. I do miss the 90s. I just started watching Portland. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Or Portlandia, I think it is.
Yeah,
I just started... I'm like, I want to move to Portland. Is it still the 90s there? Is that true?
Pretty much, from my understanding. And better yet, I have a customer I'm working with. They're actually building a tiny home community that is going to provide transportation to Portland, because it's going to be outside of Portland, and they want to bring people to live there. So they're offering free transportation from the tiny home community into Portland so they can work and not have to worry about the drive.
Oh my God. I've been stuck on California, Oregon, whatever.
Either
or Washington. But Oregon's really expensive to live in. My friend, Dot, I'll call her. That's her code name. Her real name is Dorothy. I just love calling her Dot. I'm like, I've never had a friend named Dot. She's like, that's not my name. I'm like, it is now. I give people names all the time. Like my friend Carly, I call her Carl because I love it. I'm like, Carl, how you doing? I don't give a shit. So, yeah. I guess I should stop just, verbal diarrhea. Crawford. I really, you know me, I'm like, you give me a script and I'm still like, okay.
Well,
thanks, Listen, everybody, Miles has really been getting this shit together because she is serious about this podcast, and she's been getting her steadfastness and her, like, let's get this shit done has really emboldened me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna write a script for next week. She got us, that's not a script, but it's like an outline, so that, because I'm sure y'all have heard me be like, whispering over the mic to Miles, like, what was I saying? Because, like, I just completely forget. Like, well, in her garage, I sit at the window and a bird flies by, and I'm like, that's a nice, completely loose thought. I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time.
Like, it's so true.
It is. That's why it's a variety hour, though, because you get a serious conversation with a couple of dick jokes slipped in. I did tell her, I was like, there's no dick jokes in this. I don't understand. Where's the dick jokes? Is there another page I'm missing? Oh my God, what did you say?
I said, dick jokes are sneaky, like Bush Sr.'s hands.
I almost died. I was like, that's the best dick joke I've heard all week.
I had a few of them for all the, like, sexual predators out there. And not that sexual predators are funny, we understand that. But, like, there's something about George Bush Sr., like, coming out as the weird fucker that he is. And I'm just sitting there like his wife. I'm like, how? He's so old. Like, he's so close to death. Like, I can't even be
you
mad
can
at
even
him.
see
Like,
it, too. Like, he can't even sit right in a chair. He's, like, just leaned against it. I think they're weakening at Bernie and him, but they haven't. They're just propping him up, keeping him alive.
I'm really glad that the ladies came forward. That is awesome. It was super good. And, I love all the empowerment of women who are finally feeling free to come forward and tell their story. And Get it, girl. I wasn't enraged the way that I was enraged about Harvey. I was, because I'm like, it's Bush Sr. Like, if it was Bush Jr., I would totally be enraged. It's not that his old age gets him a free card. It's just that he's gonna die soon, and I don't know if he even has the ability to grab anything anymore.
Right.
He's literally, like, he's gonna get his own, and I don't want to see him go to jail because he's not gonna make it. And but he did hold up his responsibility. He admitted to his guilt. He apologized. I'm not giving him, again, he's not getting a free card from this, but he's gonna die soon. So there's that freedom in that.
But here's something I believe in our society. My brother spent 8 years in prison, and I really believe, they don't rehabilitate people in prison, obviously. But I am a strong proponent. You do the time or whatever, you should be given a second chance. And I really hate, like, some of these kids who go to jail or prison, like those teenagers that threw those rocks off the bridge and killed a guy. I don't know if you heard about those, like 4 or 5 teenagers up in Michigan, I think, threw rocks off a bridge.
They were damaging people's car and found it funny, but one went through the passenger side of a truck and it killed a father. Like, brand new born baby at home kind of guy.
Yeah.
He was really young. Like, you're not funny. That shit's not okay.
No, it's not. But, they're facing life in prison. And I just think, 20 years in prison, I think, is proper. And don't get me wrong, that doesn't cheapen that person's life or whatever. But raising boys and knowing how we all are as teenagers, like life in prison, really? Maybe I'm being a little soft on the issue, but, man, that's a long time for something stupid that you did when you were 16.
Well, and that's where I'm very torn, because they do need to definitely pay for their actions, but I also, I don't know. Like, I don't know their back history. I don't know what kind of even home they came from. I'm not trying to give them excuses. These guys definitely need to spend some fucking time in jail. By all means, they do. But again, it's things like...
But let's rehabilitate them like they do over in, this is terrible that I can't remember this. I'm on cough medicine, so I'm going to give myself a pass this week. Anders Breivik, I believe. The guy that went on the shooting spree over in the pretty peaceful, oh, geez Louise. It was, was it New Zealand? He was a mass shooter. He, went out to an island. And, let's see here. Norway. He did,
to, the cafe in the middle of the day and shot all those people dead?
Yeah, he went to, a youth leadership conference or whatever on a little island.
That's right.
He'll be released in, 10 years. They're like, no, he'll be rehabilitated. They're weird, though. I think that's Norway, New Zealand.
Well, here's a difference, though. American rehabilitation and Norwegian rehabilitation are two different scopes.
They're actually going to rehabilitate him, whereas
they're trying to make a difference. And again, we have 4 teenagers who are going to probably fuck up the rest of their life in jail, but we have somebody like Brock Turner, who fucking spent no time in jail for raping an unconscious woman. We have a local
Wasn't that
coach.
the one that his dad wrote a letter or whatever?
Yeah. Explaining that Brock had a very bright future ahead of him and to give him leniency, because he was a white swimmer from Ohio. He's a fucker. And, but I'm saying, yes, Brock didn't kill anybody, but if
you killed somebody's soul, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. And there are just people who are getting off the fucking hook for so much shit, and then I'm not saying these boys shouldn't have known better. They saw the cars going off on the side of the interstate that they were damaging. I don't think they intentionally killed that guy by any means. I know it was a manslaughter charge instead of, obviously, murder in the first. But, I don't know.
Right.
Reevaluate them in 5 years, and reevaluate them in 10 years. And I know that these people are pissed and that this was petty, but they are, what is the guy getting for running over Haley in Charlottesville?
Right.
There's a lot of people, and how many fucking cops are getting away for being scared of their life? And you're gonna fucking put one of these teenagers to teach them a lesson? No, you're not, and you're not gonna try to rehabilitate them. You're gonna hope that when they do get back out, that they get back into the drugs, so you can put them back in their jails and fill your quota.
That was my next argument. Was they're just fodder for the system, human capital. And I've gone on about that. That shit pisses me off so bad, our prison system. And but that's what bothers me in our country is we don't rehabilitate, send people back out to society like we're supposed to. We say and we preach, you pay your debt to society, you should get a free a fresh chance. And, my brother, it took him like 10 years after he had a lot of felonies and some serious charges, don't get me wrong. So he had a harder time, and I understand why. But it took him like for that, because background checks only go like 5 and 7 years or whatever. So it took him that long just to be able to become a productive member of society. And he really wanted to when he got out of prison, and he just kept getting pushed back and pushed back. And he got into heroin there for a while. He's been clean for a few years now. I mean, I was very lucky. A friend of mine lost her brother to heroin, and my brother kicked it, so I'm very lucky to still have him, even though I can't stand him.
Yeah, I mean, and see, and that's just it. Like, how do we get people up on their feet again? And I think that it's just all about history in general, about how we are treating people from every aspect, how we treat minorities, how we treat women, how we treat certain jail sentences, who were willing, quote unquote, to actually rehabilitate. Who deems what's rehabilitable? Yeah, I don't know. Who can be, who can change, who really can, and how do we put forth belief? Like, at this point, I feel that these teenagers could just plead to Mike Pence and promise to be a part of the pro-life campaign, and Mike Pence would probably just be like, you guys should really lighten their sentence and give them a pat on the back. Like, that's kind of how, as fucked up as it sounds, like, that's how that's how this shit works now. Like, hey, if you can promise in like 8 years from now that you'll do this, this, and this, and this for me, I'll get your sentence lightened up. Like, it's a scratch back bullshit, and it sucks.
Just like they pardoned that awful sheriff down in Arizona.
Oh my god. Fucking piece of shit.
Pissed me off.
What was his name?
Joe Arapio.
Yeah. Yeah? Yep, that sounds about right. Whatever.
Arapio. I don't fucking care. Fuck him.
Shit. And we don't need to know his name because he's not worth knowing. But if you don't just, I don't know, find out who he is if you're in that area and stay the fuck away from him.
Piece of shit.
Yes. There's a lot of pieces of shit out there, and
And it's getting worse.
It really is. And, and that's just a problem, is that I think that people want to get better. They just can't because they're constantly being pushed down. And economically, America is terrible. And all these economic students from different colleges keep comparing us to third world countries, and no one believes it, but it's the truth. And we have a lot of disparity, and that is causing the uptick in anger and rage and violent acts and those kind of things. And instead of taking responsibility for actions, we are instead finding ways to put blame on why this is happening. We put the blame in an uptick with saving our borders, or with terrorism, or with women's rise, or with bad cops, or whatever. We are always finding someone to pinpoint instead of trying to kind of turn the tides and look in at ourselves and say, okay, but do you know your neighbor's name across the street? Do you know a diagonal neighbor from you? Do you know who they are? Do you think that you could work with them on a communal level of how to make your neighborhood better and make that a thing and inspire other neighborhoods and try to break down those stereotypical barriers that we create amongst ourselves? And a lot of these misconceptions is that there's somebody to blame for the rise in gun violence, and there's somebody to or to blame for the rise in obesity. And sure, there is a lot of fingers to point at individual people, but overall it actually is a governmental problem, and we, the people of America, actually run our government. We're in charge of it, but we become so apathetic and lazy that we haven't held them truly accountable for their bullshit. And so we just sit here and continue to allow our neighborhoods and our states to be riddled with drugs, epidemics, guns, mass murders, rapists, whatever it might be. And then we're pointing our finger at our neighbors instead of pointing at the people who aren't being held accountable. We're not holding cops accountable. We're not holding judges accountable. We're not holding men accountable. We're not holding women accountable to some degree. Or we're finding ways to divide each other instead of coming together. And I think that if we brought and broke down the fact that, you know, there is a lot of really progressive things that we've been doing for decades, but it keeps getting washed away by somebody else's agenda. Whether it be Kraft macaroni and cheese or fucking Walmart or Amazon or whoever we want to put the blame on. At the end of the day, though, we're the consumers. We are the democracy. It is in our right to not buy the bullshit they're feeding us. It is in our ability to grow gardens in our backyard so we don't have to go to the grocery store. And when you have too many tomatoes, why don't you just go take them to your local shelter or go take them to your local Section 8 housing? You know, trying to educate people around you about, you know, when they think that women aren't a priority, you know, letting them know that more than 35,000 American women served in the military during World War I, or letting them know that, like, right now is that women have a larger presence in our military than ever before. Currently, with over more than 200,000 women serving in active duty military, by 2020, women veterans will comprise of nearly 11% of that. I know. 11% of the total veteran population. I mean, so to sit there and think that we can't serve is bullshit. To think that we're not strong enough to do it is bullshit, and that's a misconception to break. As well as, my neighbor's a piece of shit and they never pick up their yard. Well, if you don't go talk to your neighbor, maybe they're sick. Maybe there's something wrong with them. Or maybe they are a lazy piece of shit. But maybe instead of bitching about it or calling your local NEAT, if your county has that. I
fucking hate NEAT.
I know. But if your county has that, you know, instead of doing that, why don't you just go help mow their lawn? Is it going to take you all but an extra 15, 20 minutes of your day to do something nice? And maybe it will, it may not inspire them. Maybe if I do one nice thing, they're going to want it all the time. Oh, the fuck well. Like, what's it gonna hurt to be a nice person? It's not gonna fucking kill you. It really will not kill you. Unless it gives you a stroke and then you have a heart attack because you were shoveling their driveway for them. So, I mean, it's a catch-22, but really, just be a good person and break down some of those misconceptions and, you know, those fingers and judginess, and realize that maybe you're a dick and you're not a good person. Because I know I'm a dick and I'm really fucking judgmental of people. And I preach to not be. Don't judge. And then I'll be somewhere like, oh, look at that fucking motherfucker. He left his car right there in the goddamn parking lot. Like, you piece of shit.
Oh, that is a huge... I got it. I got your cart. It's fine. No, I got it. I'm such a bitch about that. Where I live, oh my gosh. Oh, Miles. It's so bad. Like, people try to park, like, right next to the front door instead of in an actual parking spot. And then they leave their carts everywhere. Like, by the first 4 parking spots in front of Walmart, in every aisle, there's like 3 carts in each of the first few spots. I'm like, are you serious? You just gotta move it to the door. And I just think about the people. There's somebody that has to go out and corral those. That's what I think about. You know, like, there's somebody out there getting all them stupid fucking carts. That's somebody's job.
Well, and that's why they do it, because somebody's job gets paid to do it. I'm telling you.
No, bitch.
Those people usually who are out there, they're not... Okay, yeah. Some of those grocery stores send their, like, really healthy, young, 16, 17-year-olds to go get those carts. And most of the time, they give those to some of the more...
special needs folks.
Yep, and then, you know, it's...
just like the door greeters.
Yeah. You know, and it's not a bad thing. That's great. Whatever. But I'm just saying that sometimes maybe you could just be nice to everybody and put your fucking cart in the cart corral. It's not that hard, you dicks. Like, why?
Just thinking about your fellow human. Yeah, it might be their job, but their job is to actually go get the carts from the cart corral.
Their job is to be doing all of that. The carts, the trash, bagging groceries, helping out. There's all kinds of other jobs. Somebody doesn't get paid just to get carts. They have, like, other duties. It's like people who serve. They don't just serve your food. You know that there's running side work and they do other shit for other servers. Like, are you... And they... we could go on about serving, but... Again, just be a nice person and push your dirty ass plates to the edge of the table to make it easier for them to pre-bust your fucking table.
Yeah, you know, you were talking about NEAT and your neighbor and all that, and when I was raising my son, my oldest son. I was really young when I had him, and I can't tell you how many of my neighbors, instead of coming to me and telling me what they saw my son doing, like down the block where I couldn't see him, they would call like children's services or, like the police or whatever. And instead of coming to my door, when we were growing up, an adult down the street would grab me up by my ear and march my ass home. Like your daughter was just about to set fire to a field, and you're just so lucky I grabbed her ass, but we don't have that community looking out. Everybody's suspicious and reporting each other. And I think I don't know if we've ever really clarified. I mean, we're obviously very left-leaning people. We really care about like socialism and our fellow humans, and we're always going on about, the inequality in America. But I think that we're both when I think of progressive, I think kind of middle of the road. Like I kind of agree with Republicans on small government anymore, because I've realized like how controlling and dampening a big government is on us in certain aspects, especially now, like, government overreach anymore. And as far as I agree with a lot of their budgeting. I'd like to see more money going towards social programs and lifting each other up, education, infrastructure, things like that. I don't have a problem with people being on food stamps. I do, as far as the fact that that's what they have to use to supplement their income, because we don't pay them enough. Everybody should have to do their fair share. But as far as like disability and things like that, like maybe there is a little bit too much of that going on, but also, I mean, where people who can actually work take a disability check. I mean, I personally know a few people who could work and they qualify for disability and they collect a disability check every week. And, that's like $50 out of my paycheck every week that I pay for Social Security. And I don't mind when it goes to our elderly. I'm big on elder care, but I was just at Miles had to go. She had to walk away, so I'm going to re-up and tell her. I was just talking about being a progressive. I agree with some of the Republican ideas, as far as financials and smaller government, things
Absolutely.
like that. So I'm not absolutely just so left-leaning and far left. It's just
we're not we're not
throwing
throwing bricks at windows at Starbucks because we think that proves a point. We're not asking that every millionaire just automatically gives $1,000 just to give $1,000. We understand that there is a pay to play. I don't like it, but it is a part of our society of how things work. But unfortunately, with that, what happened with, in my opinion, is that a long time ago, we had the Democrats and the Republicans, and those parties used to be switched, where the Democrats were actually a lot more like Republicans, and Republicans were a lot more Democratic. But now they have switched around, and now we also have, liberal, progressive Democrat, democratic socialist. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to put the political view out there. And I agree with Crawford. Yes, I believe that we need to wrangle in the money. I believe that some regulations really do need to be let go. I think that we do need to allow people to take ownership of their ability to work and not live off the government if they have the ability not to. But there is a difference between the problem that we have. I think me and Crawford semi-agree on this, is that there is right now such a high poverty rate across the board. And
I did bring that up. It was like, I was like, but at the same time, I can't be mad at these people who are on food stamps and getting these help because they don't have the wages. And that's something that people don't grasp, is if we paid people a living wage, they wouldn't be on these programs.
Can you imagine, okay, right now, like, especially in Hancock County, Ohio, like, we're at like a 3.1% unemployment rate, which is the lowest it's been in years. Now imagine if those people who lived here had living wages, we wouldn't be scrambling around because we don't have enough kids enrolled into our schools, or we wouldn't have to keep wondering about, hey, we went over on, like, we would actually have people giving enough money into the city, county, state taxes, in which we wouldn't have to be asking for so many levies, asking for so many tax rate hikes.
Yeah.
No problem, you guys taking my tax money to help build better rehabilitation centers. I want infrastructure to be safe. I want better school systems. I want all those things in place. But how can you ask people, even if it is just 75 cents extra every paycheck, to go towards something when you're not paying them 75 cents extra every hour? Like, you have to understand, in order for us to pay more taxes, I have no problem actually paying higher taxes if you give me a livable wage. Like, hey, make sure everybody across the board makes 15, 16 bucks an hour, just as a starting base. You have other countries that are starting off, or states.
I was just gonna bring that up with the other countries. Like, you see it. I mean, it's living.
It works.
Right, and we keep ignoring that. Actually, there's a guy that comes in, and he's from New Zealand, but he comes to America and stays for like 2 months out of the year. And he was, well, I don't remember. I was talking with the other bartender that I was replacing. We were shift changing. It was a friend of hers, and I was talking about the price of the copay on my medications or whatever. And I was like, but me, I just eat a handful of dirt, and that really boosts my immune system, and that's basically my health plan. And he just started laughing, and he's like, yeah, we don't have that where I'm from. And he's from New Zealand. All these other countries don't worry. I mean, healthcare is just a basic right, like water or anything else for them. It's such a no-brainer, non-issue for them. And I don't think anybody in America can really grasp that. Like, it's impossible for us to get healthcare for anything. Like, I'm sicker and shit. I'm just like, I'll take some vitamin C. And you know what? Maybe we should be more self-sufficient, not run to the doctor every time we're sick or whatever, but we should have the fucking option.
We should have the option, and I think that's a huge thing. Like, right now, my husband's back is fucked, okay? Like, it's terrible, and no matter what he has been trying, we have tried a lot of different remedies, resources to kind of help it out, and it's just getting worse. And he's only in his late 30s, and I mean, it hurts him to the point where it's hard for him to find the motivation to do the things that I yell at him about not doing around the house. But I also get that a lot of time he's just in a lot of pain. And, but we're like, okay, well, my deductible is so high that I'm worried about, him going in to get any kind of surgery, because we're going to have to pay for, $13,000 out of pocket before anything gets covered. Which will be great, because if he does need like an $80,000 surgery, we only pay $13,000 and the rest of it will be covered at 100%, but that's still $13,000 that I don't have. And then he was like, well, I can go and look into coming off of my insurance, going with his job separate insurance. But again, we have to look into that, this week to find out what his deductible will be and what kind of coverage they would do for like, therapy. So we're, okay, well, seeing a chiropractor hasn't been working. This hasn't been working. So, we got to go ahead and we got to make sure that we're, checking in with, what kind of is going to be the cheapest way for him to get, physical therapy, because he needs it. And maybe that's all it is. Maybe it is just us needing for him to go to a doctor, get on some physical therapy in 6 months, a change of diet and whatever else, and maybe he would be fixed. But we're scared to even start going to the doctor, because we know what happens. You go to that first doctor's appointment, they see you, they check you out, you come back in 2 weeks, then you go back in 2 weeks, and then suddenly you're thousands of dollars in debt. Your doctor won't see you anymore, because of the fact that you owe them too much money and you can't pay them because of something. So it's really tough right now for healthcare. It's tough for living wages. And so we're not so left-leaning that we don't understand that we should pay I will pay higher taxes. I will pay whatever I need to for healthcare free. I really don't give a shit about paying $5 for a gallon of milk or $5 for a gallon of gas if there are certain things in this country that are covered, that should be covered for what we have, for the benefits of it. You don't understand. I do understand. I know that there's enough money in this country that if we instead stop spending $700 billion on our military and only spent $500 billion on our military and took $200 billion and put it into education and healthcare, that would be one small step in the right direction. But we don't even have the balls to do that because they want us to be pro-life. Well, they want us to be pro-life. And if we become pro-life, maybe they'll give it to us. And that's what I'm saying, that we're left-leaning because we don't think that we should have to change our moral values in order for us just to get health care or living wages. That's kind of how I feel about it, at least.
That's why I was like, it's not that I know that we always come off as left-leaning, but I just kind of wanted to clarify that it's not that we're just left-leaning. We're more concerned with social issues, education, all those wonderful things that make a stronger population, and we'd have more people working. And, the whole corporate welfare thing, which I know I'm getting a little off topic here. We were supposed to be talking about women, and here we are. I'm like, well, let's talk about politics.
I'm all about that, though. I'm cool with it. We don't have to talk about... We can talk about women.
We can talk about whatever.
We talk about variety. It's only 36 minutes, too, by the way. I mean, we've got plenty of time.
Yeah, we got a timer, motherfuckers. So, let's see here. I guess we could get back to talking about crazy-ass men and how they like to kill people.
I mean, right now I'm actually reading the article about our Senator Cliff Height.
I've actually met him. I waited on him at when I worked at Ohlers. I'll just go ahead and say I don't care, because that was years ago. And yeah, he's kind of creepy. He's staring at my tits the whole time.
We would all joke around about how much of he was a pervert in high school, but because we were teenagers, we didn't like any of our teachers. And then realizing that our weird, creepy feelings about him were very legit.
Valid.
Yeah. And so I'm reading about. He had resigned suddenly, for those of you who don't know. Cliff Height is a senator from Ohio, and he up and resigned about a week ago out of nowhere. There was, at that time, nothing that was in the newspaper saying that he was in any kind of health trouble or there was anything wrong. And so at first he was like, I'm resigning, family health issues, I can't do this, I need to be there for my family, everyone's sick, blah, blah. Then the next day comes out and he talks about, well, he's resigning because he was hugging a girl that worked at a different office across from his building down in Columbus, and that he was hugging her too much, and it made her feel uncomfortable. And instead of it turning into something, he decided to leave. And apparently he had made a few other passes and said some really gross things to her. So he wanted to leave as quickly as possible in order to, spare his family the shame. So right now I'm actually just kind of reading about the sexual harassment complaint made. So that's, I apologize. That was really off topic.
It's almost like, it's just kind of been an avalanche in the last just this year, I guess we could say, of women coming forward, and it's a step forward for us,
We're finally coming the biggest perv in fucking office right now, so.
Right, actually that, I completely forgot about this until, I just realized, when my mom was in the military, and I've talked about it a few times, that she's a veteran, she doesn't get the recognition that I think that she should, but she got honorable discharge from the military, but she had an affair with one of her higher-ups, and she was also rooming with a lesbian couple, and she actually had to go to court and went to trial and was charged with adultery because military... they have a whole set of laws and whatnot that you have to live by. And she had to... I was so young. I was like 10 or 11, and so honestly, I can't remember the exact facts, but she barely, got through, squeaked by and was able to get an honorable mention or whatever, an honorable discharge, so she can go to the VA and things like that. But she was charged with adultery, and it was just kind of a witch hunt. She was made to testify against these two lesbians that she roomed with and what she had observed or whatever. And they basically held that against her, well, you had an affair with your supervisor. I think it would have been her CO, or I'm not really sure. I'm kind of going off memory, and I've never really talked to her about it too much in depth. But, they were like, we need you to testify against these two women because, that was just wrong. So, but that's how she, it's been going on for a long time as far as sexual assault and pay for play in that respect is, you give me a hand job and I'll help you out. And I've come across that in my own life, where I thought I was going on job interviews And I don't know how common this is for other people, but a couple of times I've had job interviews at restaurants, and shown up to these job interviews, and a couple of them have been legit, but it's been men who just wanted to take me out. And, getting about 20 minutes into it and realizing that you're not there for a job interview, they just thought you were pretty and wanted to talk with you more.
Yeah, and it's gross. And we're supposed to sit back and be, oh, okay, well, that's just, haha, thanks for the job offer. Not really. I mean, we're just supposed to sit around all the time and allow men to talk to us. We're supposed to allow our senators to talk to us a certain way. We're supposed to be doing all these things. And again, this is about equality across the board. This is about something that you shouldn't do things that aren't right. And if a woman tells you no, that means no. And if you are doing things that are dirty, gross, and wrong, then you shouldn't be in a position of power. The problem is that most men who are dirty, gross, and wrong are in a position of power. And we're tired of it. And this isn't about some great resistance, but it is. Because if you take care of the big problem first, we can spread our little beautiful wings and we can start taking care of all the other small problems. And women's rights have, as you guys have always heard us talk about, from Roe versus Wade and all this shit that has happened to us. And, as Crawford was just talking about, women in the military, or, there are teachers out there who are women who are, asking their, male students to have sex with them. And there are those cases. I'm not saying that women aren't predators and they're not sexual deviants, because there are women who are just as bad. I mean, there are some terrible females out there and there's some terrible males. And again, I want to address both sides of this story. Also, however, for a long time, women have had to sit politely with our legs crossed and hope that somebody's hand doesn't try to go in between our thighs. And at some point, we need to say, this is not okay. We're not taking this shit anymore. And all you motherfuckers are going to get called out. Because once we can address all of you, then less people will feel empowered to predatorize. Nope, that's not the word I'm looking for. To become predators upon others. If we can get all this shit taken care of in the big scope of things, then we can take the microscope and really start dissecting from the female predators and where this starts, and try to catch this as early as possible, and people being not in fear, but will understand that this kind of behavior is wrong. But right now we put somebody in office that said grabbing them by the pussy was locker room talk. And it's not that he was joking about it. He physically grabbed somebody by the pussy. He did it. And we said that's okay, become president of the United States. And now we know that at this point, with what the administration is putting forward in his first 365 days coming up, is that they don't give a shit about women, and they want men to have the right to rape and take, and we can't allow that to happen. And so we knew that if we don't stand up now for it, it's not going to get any better. And there will be no more walking home from the bar safe with your girlfriends. There will not be a way for you to be safe, because once we put out that precedence to our children, to our teenagers, to young men in the workplace, that they can talk to women this way, that they can treat them, we're going to have to start back from square one. And so we need to start now, stopping the behavior before it continues to get worse, because I don't want to see any more campaigns, because I want the campaigns to have to end, because it has ended. And if we can start calling out all these motherfuckers from Hollywood to the senators to Congress, and we start taking these bitches down, we will be able to say, okay, that's our starting point. Now, where do we go from here? And then we can really start to dissect and start changing the ways of the millennials, and then the kids that they have, and their conversations will not just be, well, this is what women's rights are. It is going to be, this is what human rights are, because man, woman, trans, hermaphrodite, whatever you may be, you all deserve the same respect. And if you don't want me to fucking grab your junk and put my finger up your asshole, then maybe you shouldn't try to put your hands in between my thighs.
That's just the way it is.
That's just the way it is.
That's just politeness, So maybe that is why we've had such a surge in women's rights or women coming forward and saying I've been assaulted, because enough is enough. And I don't know if you saw, I did see that you, I don't think it was in here, maybe it was on your Facebook, you were talking about Corey Feldman, and he was talking about making a...
Yeah, dude, I'm super worried about him.
He's been crazy for a minute. I don't know if you ever, I mean, kind of lightly follow him through the press over the years.
He's always been a little on the nut side, but he's right, and I realized that he was right, but I mean, he came out, and then he got arrested, and all this weird shit's happening to him, so I just keep saying, like, is Corey Feldman okay? Make sure that we're just checking up on him.
He's not okay. He's been crazy for a short minute, and I believe he was sexually abused when he was younger, but he's doing a fundraiser. He wants like $10 million to make a documentary about sexual abuse in Hollywood. And I read at the bottom of the article he was talking about like production costs, but also money to keep him and his family safe or whatever. And I just thought, he's always been an opportunist, and to me, I don't think that what he's planning on doing and all that money could go to a much better cause. I feel like he's just kind of bilking people for money, and it wouldn't actually do any good or ever come to fruition, maybe.
Well, and that was my concern too, is because I was reading into it, and some commentary from other people, was that he's to make a documentary about the child pornography, is that he would have to use children and he wants to put them through the sexual scenes that he has witnessed in order to bring that like heartache. But to me,
yeah, you can't do that.
I can't get behind that. Nope, I can't. There's
no reason to show that anyways. Nobody needs to see that. I
can't even read that shit without wanting to fucking vomit and fucking punch a wall, like, no, please don't think that kind of documentary is okay. Like, what are you going to do? Like, if you want to talk to people, like, if you want to sit down and talk to Ashton Kutcher, who actually did something, like, he went on FBI raids and he saved children from trafficking and from pornography. Like, here's an actor who fucking not only just put his money where his mouth is, but he actually, like, joined the force, went with them, helped them, like, recover children. That's... okay, you want to follow, like, them, like, raiding and helping, like, save kids? Cool. Putting kids on screen with adults and showing the adult, like penetration on there? Sorry, Feldman, like, you're going a little too far on that end, in my perspective.
Yeah, and I just don't think that that's... No. I just don't agree with it. So, let's talk about some male serial killers.
Oh my god, they're everywhere, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. We have some statistics here. What is this from? Radford, Dr. Mike. Oh, from a man. How do you say that? Ahmad?
I have no fucking idea. That was going to be up to you.
AAMODT. That's fine. I don't care. I'll cowbell that shit up. Ding, 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 ding. He's at the Radford University, though, people. And what we have here is the decades from 1900 all the way down to 2010. And it just talks about, just because it has some figures, and it's steadily risen, especially like 1950 to 1960. It went from 94 male serial killers to 267.
That's insane.
But, it makes you really wonder, like, how come men suddenly, like, there was such a spike?
Well, me, I believe it's because that's the exact same time that we were doing government testing on our veterans, and a lot of times on these inner cities, this is not a conspiracy, this has been, like, locally news broadcasted in St. Louis, and,
also, we saw Jason Bourne, okay? Yeah. We saw the Bourne supremacy.
We all know, but I really think that, that huge spike, I mean, it really did come into a time, because you can see that it stopped right around, in 1990 it was 922, and then in 2010 it was only 599. So I mean, it did dip down a lot, and I think it had something to do with the opium and the heroin that they were smoking in Vietnam, and the PTSD that a lot of our soldiers were going through because they were drafted. They weren't soldiers who did this willingly. They didn't sign up for it, but they were forced into it. But not only that, but they were chemically doing all this shit to a lot of these inner cities, and you're talking about this is also the same time that a lot of drugs were really coming up and out, and this isn't like magic mushrooms. This is when the hard drugs really were hitting the streets, and the cops were feeding this in, and I think it really just kind of hit the males a lot harder than the females because, 1970 to 1980, 723 versus 42 women. Like it's a major difference in how those numbers rose and how that affected.
Correlate. Yeah. That's I think it's very interesting, honestly.
Super fucking interesting, and that's I'm like, why would that have happened? To me, that was my that's how I came out with it. It was like, okay, in my head, and my conspiracy was we were doing a lot of chemical testing on our soldiers and on our civilians. Bombings were happening in our local cities in Philadelphia and shit. So, I mean, people were tired, they were hot, they were hungry, they were starved, they were chemicalized. It's gonna create a fucking mental problem with them.
They are fucking crazy. They're way... And maybe the reason why women haven't come out as much violent and predatory is because they've kept us on a back burner and sweet and innocent and quiet, and be a lady, but women, when they do kill, they kill quietly. Like, they do not fuck. I think that number is actually much higher. I love true crime. So when Miles was like, "Let's talk about serial killers," I was like, I just got a lady boner. Not even joking. Like, what do you want to talk about? But women tend to kill with poison and different, very stealthy ways of killing. They're kind of like the dark. What do they call those? Angels of death.
Yeah. Well, we do the long game. We're long.
We're a long con.
Yeah.
We're a long con type situation. But that's how the women. I just think they don't get caught as often. But I also think that they've tamped us down for years and years and years. Let's see here. We're getting close to our hour mark.
We are.
So I think we kind of got through some of. I actually almost all of our content. Yeah, I definitely wanted to leave time for Erica though, because I love what she had to say. So if you want to talk about Erica.
Absolutely. Sorry, my mic's being a little funky there for a minute. So are you hearing that?
Like you're like on a helicopter. Give us a traffic report, Miles.
Give me a second.
She's on a helicopter, everybody. She's about to give us the weather report, which it's a little... I don't know if it's raining over in Finley, but it is dribbling here. And they just painted new... I just looked out. Look at that bright yellow. They just painted new lines on the road. Oh, I feel so fancy. Oh, yeah.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Did you just have a loose connection or something?
Yeah, you know me. I'm fucking around with shit.
You loose, bitch. Okay, so...
We were giving I wanted to give a special shout out to my friend Erica. I don't know if you're listening, but you're awesome. Me and Erica have known each other for a long time, and I love her Facebook in general. It's always,
I'm not gonna say her last name or anything, but I would say EBS is her initials.
Yeah.
I love talking to her. She has some great opinions, and I'm always like, right on, sister.
Yeah, she's amazing, and so. The other day, she's real big on kind of the same line of me and Crawford, but on her own terms, obviously. I'm not saying she agrees with us 100% all the time, but she definitely posts some really phenomenal fact-checked articles, and she really brings a lot of light to a lot of situations. So the other day, I'm sitting there and you know me, I'm fucking enraged about something. And, and we're talking about religion and all kinds of things. And at some point she had made this beautiful post, and from her quote, it said, "These coming forth of police officers outing the bad cops, these actors and actresses stepping forward to open up about the rape industry, these kids outing their predator teachers, these athletes protesting the injustices, these students wanting to actually learn and not be fed standardized BS knowledge, wanting peace and not war. These are the signs. You want to sit here and say you believe in God. Well, here's your chance to hop on the bandwagon. Nothing says God more than the people loving each other and standing up to evil." End quote. And so I just wanted to give a shout because that was super awe-inspiring to me, because I think that it's all these little things that we talk about in our podcast, all these little things that we break down, and of course our little great hilarious jokes and comedy and constant giggles in the background, they all come from a really good place, but it's because, you know, there's so many people who try to feed us religion and tell us that they believe in God, but they also believe in hate, and I don't think those two go hand in hand. And I love the fact that she, you know, is putting out there, like, this isn't about uprising, this is about, if you really believe in God, if you really believe and you want to sit here and you want to talk about things, this is what he was preaching. And people standing up to the evil in the world, people protesting, people literally coming out of the woodworks about all their fucking terrible stories to make and shed light on them. These are the good acts of humans, and stop putting them down, but instead rise them up and allow more to come forward, because this is how we're going to change. First of all, most of, you know, our country and the world. If we can just start somewhere, it will flourish. That's the note that I was going to end on.
I think I do love what she has to say, and even if she slightly disagrees, she always presents it in a respectable, here's why I think that way, and it's backed up. And I don't mind. I mean, I try not to argue on Facebook a whole lot anymore, because, you know, this is so offensive, but, you know, arguing online is like participating in the Special Olympics. You might win, but you're still a retard. Yeah, and that's offensive as fuck. I don't care, but it's such a perfect analogy for arguing online, you know. But I do like respectful discussion when you can find, like, you know, I respect what you're saying, here's my thoughts on it, and opening up each other's minds. And that's what she does when she
puts things out there. And I appreciate those altogether, all of you who are trying to put forth
civil discourse.
Yep, a little civil discourse, and that's all that we need.
Is that right? I better look that up.
No, I think you're right. Civil discourse would be, I think it's right too. I think we just could, you know, tone down our fucking attitudes a little bit, you know. And
civil discourse is engagement in discourse, parentheses, conversation, intended to enhance understanding.
Yes, and that's what our podcast is doing. And
ding, ding, ding.
Good for you, cowbell. Ding, 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 ding.
Well, I think just us as women talking about our experiences in life, it adds to the conversation of the everyday struggles that we deal with, and just trying to bring light and put a voice out there. You know, the more we talk, like we belong to a couple of podcast groups that support each other as women, and you know, kind of just like group talking, like really coming out and giving our side. We all have, everybody, humans in general, have different stories, and this is us as women coming out and saying, this is our story. Yep. This is what we're doing, and this is what things are like for us, and it needs to stop.
Agreed. Also, side note, peeps who are listening, please visit our website at milesandcrawford.com, and we also started our own Patreon. So if you like us at all whatsoever, we don't care. Give us $1. We just started the Patreon last week, so we're really new. I'm trying to find ways to market it and get us out there. But we would really appreciate anybody at least visiting our website, sending us commentary, commenting. I know that we do have some great people out there that do follow us. But visit us on Patreon. That would be wonderful. We'll have that up it is on our website.
It's on our Facebook too.
It's on our Facebook as well. And our Twitter, we talk about it. So you can follow us on all kinds of social media and follow us and become friends with us and interact with us. We would appreciate it.
we're just about everywhere that we can be that doesn't cost money, at least.
It's so true.
Or they only let you upload like a half hour, which I need to do a new spot. But anyways, everybody, you're amazing. Oh, on Patreon, if you become a patron of ours, we'll be able to deliver you what there's called patron-only content. So content that only people who are our patrons get access to. And so that might be something special, like maybe a video or just bonus episodes just for you guys.
Or we'll allow you to come on to our podcast and talk your shit that you want to talk shit about. And we'll totally let that happen. It's all about, we want to encourage you to give us money. But we also want to encourage you, if you have your own podcast or a business or whatever else, we would love, to do, scratch, in the pay to play.
Right. Cross promotion.
The difference is that we're poor and we just need to be a bit less poor. That's all.
We just want to we need to get up the next rung of the ladder here.
Yeah, we just want to buy ourselves some fancy fucking coffee.
Right? Oh my goodness, could you imagine? Like, let me just get a good cup here, honey. I'll be right back. Oh,
I can afford the espresso maker. Yay!
Yeah, buddy. We'll be all fancy. Scarves around our neck. You already wear scarves.
And support us. And if you want to support us and you want us to support you back, just let us know. Reach out to you. We have no shame in the game. Well, we do have. I mean, we do have some boundaries. So don't be a racist Nazi dick fuck. We'll be good.
I don't do hand jobs with eye contact at all. That's off the table. Eye contact, no. I'm like Pretty Woman, no kissing and no eye contact. No. But yeah, anyways, thanks for listening, everybody. I had a wonderful time. I don't know about you, Miles.
I had a beautiful time.
I try not to cough or sniffle too much. I don't want to get you sick. That's stupid. I'm a half hour away. That's dumb. I'll get this all edited and you guys will see us right around the 28th, I'm guessing. I'm trying to get these up on Saturdays or, quick turnaround on it. So we'll see you guys next week with some more talk about ladies and how amazing they are.
Yay, thank you guys.
Oh, bye.